Sorry, I do have my game of the week. It was Rams 49ers.
All right, go away.
Just a game where. Sorry, I just completely blanked on that. But just a game where, 49ers looking like they had kind of like, to me, a must-win for them. They just lost last week to the Vikings. We're looking to bounce back. They did lose Debo. They didn't have Kittle. They didn't have McCaffrey. So kind of, it was a big game for Brock Purdy, especially. Just kind of had to go out there and show that he doesn't need the star talent. And I know we were talking about this on the pregame, that game could have been the difference between Brock Purdy making $60 million a year or $30 million a year, because if you can't win without your star players, that doesn't mean that means you're not as good a quarterback as you're led to believe with the talent around him. And so that game could have been an implication of how much money he'll end up making. I always said that Brock Purdy was a success because of the talent around him, and I think and just the Rams played really well. Like, they did what they needed to do. They got stops late. They drove down the field, kicked the game-winning field goal. Kyron Williams had a game. He had 2 touchdowns. Matt Stafford got the job done when he needed to, and yeah.
I also think it's interesting that the 2 players that are out for them are the players that he could just dump it off to or hand it off to. So without that, does that say that he doesn't have the arm to do it himself?
Well, no, it's not that he doesn't.
Kittle was also
because
out.
He was out, but Juwan Jennings, they aired the ball out to him a lot. He
did have a good game.
11 catches, 146 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Kind of insane day for Juwan Jennings. If you picked him up in fantasy, that was one heck of a pickup. But no, I don't know. I always said that Brock Purdy it's the talent around him. It's not him, and I think these next couple weeks are going to be really important for him.
Yeah, team I loved watching this week and have enjoyed watching the whole year is the Vikings, now 3-0. Mm-hmm. They've knocked off the Giants, which is a given, but the last 2 weeks they've knocked off the 49ers and the Texans in pretty handed fashion.
Yep, just really good games too.
Yeah, well, not as a Texans fan this year, but Darnold has been balling out. Since J.J. McCarthy went down, they weren't sure if this team was going to be anything this year. Mm-hmm. Turns out Sam Darnold had that dog in him. And, I mean, last Sunday he went 17 for 28, 181 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's something. Mm-hmm. On the season now, 657 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The 8 touchdowns is leading the NFL. Yep. Sam Darnold from the Jets.
Yep. From the Jets, Panthers, Niners.
He's found a team. But
talking about that, being on that 49ers team last year helped him a lot with the coaching.
But you can also look at it, he's kind of like that Baker Mayfield where, that guy can't find his team, and now maybe Darnold's found his team. And I was coming into the season not thinking J.J. McCarthy was NFL talent, so I don't know if this then puts a quarterback competition in.
I don't think so. I think it might, if anything, when McCarthy comes back. I don't think he's playing this year, so I think if he comes back next year, maybe it's just like he sits behind Daniel a little bit, or maybe Darnold. Sorry, you're right, Darnold. Darnold goes out a little bit. I don't know. I think it would be more of like a who's playing best, but maybe Darnold gets moved somewhere else.
Yeah, another guy who balled out for the Vikings this week, we had Aaron Jones go back to his prime, had 19 carries for 102 yards, not get in the end zone, but...
Did you see what he said he wants to do?
What's that?
He wants to bring the Lambeau Leap to Minnesota and call it the Bank Vault.
Wow.
It's kind of tough.
That's tough. On the year now, he has 228 yards and a touchdown. He's just doing enough for them. He didn't really have to be the star so far because Darnold is airing it out well, but he's not washed. And I think that was a lot of people's concerns with him coming there after Green Bay. Even with his time ending at Green Bay, it was kind of getting older, and Dylan was getting more of the carries, but good to see him now still having a season. Yeah. And, of course, you have Justin Jefferson when healthy, great player. This week at 81 yards and a touchdown. On the season, 273 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, again, with Darnold playing well, it just makes it that much easier for Jefferson to do so. But, yeah, I think the real question is, are Vikings frauds or are Vikings actual contenders this year?
I think maybe after week 1 you said, all right, it's a fluke, they beat the Giants. But beating the 49ers with still Debo Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle, and then you go to the Texans' house, Texans were also 2-0. Beating C.J. Stroud, they're full strength. Maybe they don't have Mixon, but Cam Akers still a serviceable running back to fill in that hole, and I think the Vikings are a real deal. I think they're a threat for the top of the NFC.
Yeah, next game at Packers, which I think that could be the Aaron Jones go off game.
Yeah, it's is it in Green
it's
Bay?
In Green Bay.
So that he's gonna do the Lambeau Leap.
The Bank Vault.
The Bank Vault, dude, that's such a cool name.
After that, they go to the Jets and then the Lions, which again, playing next 2 or 3 games against division teams, you can keep those up. Mm-hmm. I think you're solid.
Yeah. Team I want to talk about, I know Stephen A. Smith would love this little segment here, but Cowboys are they even contending for the NFC at this point? Week 1, they beat a bad Browns team, 33-17, I think it was. Didn't really look too amazing. The defense played well. But I think the biggest concern with this Cowboys team is their rushing. Your top 2 rushers are Rico Dowdle with 88 yards and Ezekiel Elliott with 62 yards. This past week they had no run game. They were down a lot of the game, obviously. Did put up a late fight, but still, I don't know. This week Dak stat pads in the fourth quarter. They didn't even score a touchdown to the fourth quarter. He went 28-51, 379 yards, 2 touchdowns. No turnovers for him, but I mean, I don't know. It's just the fact that they can only do it in the fourth quarter would worry me as a Cowboys fan. I think their whole team right now falls on Brandon Aubrey. He kicked a 65-yard field goal at halftime and then got an onside kick.
Yeah.
And their schedule's not really getting that much easier. You have a division game against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, which can always be a toss-up. Play the 2-0 Steelers, the 2-1 or the 3-0 Steelers. Sorry, 3-0 Steelers. Play the Lions and Niners coming up. So those are all some tough games that could really just keep this Cowboys team down. Dak's numbers look great. He's got 851 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but just all this is coming late in the game where it's kind of meaningless and they're already down. They got blown out by the Saints last week too. I don't even know what you can even say. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'd be worried.
I don't think the score even does that game justice. That was Ravens handily won that game.
Yes,
I think
and they kind of let it off.
Yeah.
It's foot off. But I'm not big on the Ravens this year either.
We'll get to the Ravens, but I think another question is them letting go Tony Pollard. I think that truly hurt them. I think going back to Ezekiel Elliott, who you let go for a reason, bringing him back, thinking that he would be someone to bear down on your team with. I think losing Pollard was a big hit. Also, going into the season with how much controversy you had, I don't know the team chemistry was well. I know CD was yelling at Dak on the sideline this week.
He's a mess, but he does lead the team in receiving with 218 yards, but only 1 touchdown for him. So
does Micah Parsons ask out now, or does he not push for that contract?
He wants to come to Philly so bad.
He does, and I think this only hurts the Cowboys' case.
Oh, 100%.
But and the other thing is Mike McCarthy is his job.
He's
gone?
On the line, but you just paid Dak and CD, so you're stuck with Dak for a bit.
But Dak's not the problem.
How not?
He leads the league in quarterback stats every year.
It's every fourth quarter though. The fact they didn't score a touchdown to the fourth quarter when the Ravens already gave up the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Another team I'll say in division after the Vikings, the Packers now 2-1. After the loss to the Eagles and losing Jordan Love, you didn't think that team had anything left. You put in Malik Willis. He looked terrible in his 1 attempt at the end of that Eagles game. They go on to beat the Colts and the Titans now. Malik Willis Sunday went 13 for 19, 202 yards and a touchdown. He has a 73 completion percentage now on the season, throwing for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's just doing enough.
Yep. You put him in a role where you're not really expecting much from him. His goal is to go out there and just hand the ball off, do what he needs to do to get the wins, and he's doing it. I mean, let's go. Josh Jacobs is having a pretty good season. He's able to just get the checkdowns where he needs to. He's not having to do too much, but I think that really helps him. And
the defense has played great. They had 3 turnovers on Sunday, 3 turnovers the week before, and 3 turnovers week 1. So that definitely helps a quarterback trying to just settle in when your defense is giving you those extra possessions. I know they had a pick 6 this week too. So just those little things kind of help. Their upcoming schedule, they have the Vikings, which again I think that will be a determining game in the division or for making the playoffs. Then they're at the Rams and home against the Cardinals. Those are both winnable games, especially because Jordan Love is supposed to be back this week.
Yeah.
So
I think if they get him back, they could be a threat, just like the Vikings.
And the thing with the Packers is you haven't even gotten Josh Jacobs back to Josh Jacobs yet, and your receivers haven't had to do much. You haven't really gotten, like Christian Watson was great last year. You haven't gotten that. Reed's been solid this year. You can get Wicks involved a little bit more. This team can be something if they really put the pieces together.
Yep.
And again, I don't know if that's part of that being Malik Willis not working with those receivers as much, so maybe when Love comes back, you exploit that more. I would have thought more of Josh Jacobs, though. Just with it being a backup quarterback, I thought you'd work on that more.
Yeah.